Oh, the excitement. We all love that feeling when you first arrive into your campsite. Whether you're in a motorhome or a travel trailer, there is no more fun than backing in and getting things unloaded and ready to go. In fact, all I can think about is that first cold beverage I get to pop as I sit in my recliner chair and just relax and take in the environment. Then I go inside my RV and uh-oh, something's not working. Either my lights are out or my gas isn't working. Something in the coach is off. Well, how do you diagnose that problem? I'm Mike Caudill, and this is Geared Up to Go RV.
There's no hot water.
What do you mean there's no hot water? So now that you've figured out you don't have hot water, it's now time to try and diagnose the problem. So you're going to start in a few different steps. First step is going to be actually going to the source. Flora's over here, checking to make sure that the hot water heater is turned on. Sometimes we just forget once we've packed into our campsite to turn the hot water on. On our RV, it's on the inside. Some RVs, it's actually on the outside. And a quick pit stop before we head outside, and I like to be precise, so seeing is super important. On my panel here, like many of you will have, is going to be your control panel. And I just want to check, even though I'm on shore power, which means I'm running on 50 amp here at the campsite, I also have the ability, if I'm off-grid, to be powered by my house and my chassis batteries. I always want to make sure that these are above 13 volts, and that just means that I have the ability to power a lot of things on the inside of my RV without having to be plugged into a power source. But as you can see right here, we're plugged into 50 amp shore power. Our inverter is disabled because I am plugged into that power outside, that 50 amp, and my house batteries look good. So now we're going to go look at the fuses. And one of the things you want to stop and make sure is properly working is your on-off switch for your water heater. So on the outside of all of your units, there's going to be a power on. Even though you have it turned on the inside, you also want to make sure that it's powered on the outside. One thing I always work hard to communicate to other fellow RVers is that you need to become familiar with your RV. So in the case of this Winnebago Forza, you actually have two different areas in which you can check your propane levels. One, inside on a panel, you can see what the percentage is of propane left in your tank. But you also have the ability to come outside and look on the tank itself. You're going to see right here is another indicator of how much propane you have. But let's say your RV does not have an indicator on it. You can easily buy one for a couple bucks over the counter at a hardware store and simply connect it right here to your inlet, and that's going to show you exactly how much propane you have left in your tank. All right, so step one, we've made sure that our water heater is turned on inside our travel trailer or our motor home. Step two, we've actually checked the propane to make sure that we've got enough gas in the propane tank. Step number three is actually right here. This is really cool. Just like your home, you have the ability to reset your water heater, and with a simple push of these two buttons right here, you can reset your water heater. By now, you should have eliminated all three problems to make sure you now have a properly functioning water heater, and the hot water is back on, so mama is happy. Have you ever been inside your RV and lost power of some kind? And for this example, we're going to talk a little bit about lighting. You've just got into your campsite, or you've been there for a few days and you have some form of an electrical cutout. So what do? Well, let's talk about how you diagnose electrical problems with your RV. So in the case of ours right here, on the inside, you're usually going to have some form of a breaker box, and that's before we even get to the fuses. So let me show you right here. On our RV, our breaker box, if I've popped a fuse, popped a breaker, in ours, it's below the bed. So as I come down here below the bed, just like you would at home, you're going to have an area where your breakers are at. These breakers delineate exactly what they are with your RV. So you just want to make sure that none of them are popped. If none of them are popped, then the next step is we still want to go look at our fuses to make sure that we haven't popped a fuse. Sometimes you'll get a false negative. So from here, if we don't have anything popped, we still will go check our fuses. So let's go take a look. Knowing where all of your fuses at is incredibly important. So there are a variety of different areas that you can have them. On a bigger motorhome like this one right here, you're gonna have a couple different areas where you will find your fuse boxes. So become familiar with where they are at. These are actually chassis fuses right here, and you can actually open this entire panel and find more fuses, but you have all of it contained in one or multiple areas. Just know where they're at and make sure that you have extra fuses available so that in the event you break one, you can easily plug a new one in. What happens if your refrigerator that is gas powered stops working or doesn't work when you first pull into your campsite? You want to make sure that your RV is level, so you're not rolling off the bed, your doors are opening up easily, but most importantly, keeping your refrigerator level with a gas system allows it to keep working. So your tip on that, just make sure your RV is level. Number 4 also deals with electrical issues that you might experience with your RV. So the bigger the RV, the more there will be opportunities for there to be different types of electrical units used on your RV. So we're gonna keep this super simple. This is where you power in your 30 or 50 amp, and we call it shore power. So in the case of a bigger RV like this, you're gonna run 50 amp all the time. And it sounds funny, but sometimes you will pull in, you will plug in, you will go inside, and your air conditioning or your microwave will not work. And you'll be scratching your head going, man, I'm plugged in, everything looks great. I know it's small and mundane, but there is a breaker switch under here. Right here, you gotta make sure this breaker switch is up. I've done it before where I've sat there for 20 minutes going, why do I not have power? It's because I haven't flipped the switch right here. But I'm gonna give you a bonus round. Inside this hatch right here is our bonus round. This is kind of unique. So you're gonna see up here, these are all based on your chassis batteries and your chassis power. What do I mean by that? It means the engine of your motorhome must be running. So in order to pop out your slides, let's say you get into your campsite, you plug your power in, your motor coach is off, and you go to turn on your slides and your slides do not open. Why? It's because they're actually powered by the batteries of the motor being on. Why is that important? Because it's all about safety. Safety is so important. They want you to know that these will not move unless your motor is on. Motor means go. We want these in. So in order to keep it safe, you want these to move in like that. So you have certain things that will be based on the chassis, like your slide outs, your stairs, your awning. Some things like that will be based on your chassis battery. Others will be based on your house battery. House battery, house. Chassis battery, car. All right, so when you're dealing with electrical issues, whether they are related to 50 amp power or in the case of just running off your house batteries, let's say you're boondocking, you always want to make sure that your inverter is on, and I'm going to tell you why. The minute you plug into 50 amp or 30 amp in a campsite, it's just going to bypass your inverter and provide power to your coach. It will actually disable it, but it will be on. So disable because it's plugged into the 50 amp or 30 amp shore power. But I leave it on because when I'm boondocking and I turn on my generator, which we will get to as number 5, my generator provides power to the rest of the coach. I need the inverter to convert that power to usable electricity. So the most easy message, keep your inverter on and you'll be okay. All right, so here's something that's really interesting. If you have a motorhome, your motorhome fuel that powers the vehicle is going to be tied into the generator. The generator for this motorhome is the same fuel that is for the generator here itself. Now, if you have a travel trailer, it's a little bit different, but they both require fuel. But here's what's really interesting. With a motorized unit like this motorhome right here, if you do not have enough fuel in your tanks to power and drive your motorhome, it will shut down your generator. And that actually happened to us. We got on the road, I kept trying to turn on the generator, it wouldn't turn on, which meant the kids in the back were really hot. Air conditioner can't turn on because the generator is not on. What was the result? Well, it meant that we needed more fuel in the vehicle. So once we put fuel in the vehicle, the generator fired right back up and we had happy campers. All right, so there you have it, some different ways to diagnose problems with your RV. And of course, there are dozens and dozens of other things that could potentially come up with your RV. But the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to just stop and slow down. Think about the problem and think about how you're going to solve the problem. Try and start at the source and make your way through those steps to get to a resolution. I hope you enjoyed this video. Of course, provide comments below, things that may have come up for you on the road as well. But for now, I'm Mike Caudill, and this is Geared Up to Go RVing.